Beautiful humans, welcome back to the I Like Birds podcast. I'm your host, Zach Rippey, and this podcast is dedicated to the non-believers, the confused believers, and the true believers. Because I, at one time or another, was all three. So I'm here to help you get a better understanding of who Jesus is and what he's all about. I'd love to grow in our faith together. You learn as I learn. I like the Bible, and I like words, so therefore, I like birds. Let's start the show. Episode 11 is here. Oh, it feels so good to be back. I just got back from a 2-week vacation, 1 week in South Carolina, 1 week in Alabama. So it's been over 2 weeks since I've recorded an episode, and I released 3 of them while I was gone on vacation. But man, I just miss sitting down and just working on the episodes, man. Miss just formulating my ideas of like what I was going to talk about. I just really missed it all, So I'm happy to be back. And it was so great to just have the episodes go up and just see people listening to it without really doing too much to like promote or anything. And it's been great to see the consistency amongst the listeners, and just sticking with it. So I appreciate you guys. Y'all been showing so much love, verbally, organically, and just keep it up, man. Keep coming back. I appreciate it a lot. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about my vacation because this is the Zach Rippey podcast as well. So you're going to learn a little bit about me and what happens in my life and my experiences with Jesus. And I promise this whole episode is going to be about Jesus, but also the vacation and what it means, because basically the long story short is I brought my Bible on vacation. Right? I brought my Bible on vacation and it felt good. All right. But I'm going to tell you the story of the 2 weeks of what happened. So on May 30th, it was a Saturday. Catherine and I drove 9 hours to Alabama and we stayed at a hotel with Malachi, who, might I add, didn't really enjoy being in a car seat for 9 hours. And then we drove 4 more hours the next day on a Sunday to Greenville, South Carolina. And we ended up picking up my beautiful 7-year-old son, Noah. And man, I have to say my heart is full again. Seriously, like one of the most depressing moments in my fatherhood experience of life in general was having to cancel his trip to come see me and Catherine and Malachi in April due to the coronavirus. We were supposed to be spending Easter together and the whole week together, and we ended up having to cancel it just to be safe. And I understand and I understood, but man, it still broke my heart. Seriously, especially like just being home so much with my family during COVID and the shutdown or whatever, and just being... And I felt bad that he had to live with, like, he was so excited to come, and we seriously canceled it like 2 days before to just not coming at all, So like I knew he was hurting and he was struggling with that, and he was doing like homeschooling over the computer, and it was just sad, And I just wanted him to come, and I knew we'd have some fun even if we were at the house when he came, and it just sucked. It really did. And the gap from seeing him also went from 3 months to 5 months. And man, those last 2 months were so brutal on my heart. I'm talking like crying hard so many times about it. Like in the shower, by myself, with my wife, when I read, and whenever I thought about him in the car with music, like it was bad, man. I just missed him so deeply, and I just wanted to be with him so bad, and I just couldn't because of COVID, and I hated that. I hated that something that was out of my control affected me seeing him. But luckily, his mom allowed him to come a few days earlier and stay a few days later this summer, and we worked that out, which is super dope. So he's home with me now for about 10 weeks, and dude, I just feel so much better, man. My heart is full. My mind feels better. I just feel good, man. And so we scooped him up, and then we stayed for a week in South Carolina at Catherine's best friend house, who happens to live out there, lives about 3 hours away from Noah's mom. And so we got to stay there, for 6 days before we had to hit Alabama. And so we stayed with Catherine's best friend named Jamie, and she's married to a great guy named Joe. And they have a little baby named Jojo, who's actually only a month younger than Malachi. So the babies got to meet for the first time, and we got to spend some quality time with them. And Noah had a blast out there because they live on a bunch of land. So he axed wood like every single day. He chased chickens. He fed chickens. He got like the eggs out the chicken crate. He played with dogs. He rollerbladed. We took hikes, and we maybe even shot a gun. But hey, it's the woods, right? What are you going to do? Not shoot the 22? So we had a blast, and it was just so much like fun outside activities, and it made me really realize how much I want to live on some land when me and Catherine decided to buy a house. And so I'm excited about that. That's a little inside baseball for you guys. But anyway, we had a great week there, and then so we stayed there for 6 days, and then we hit our annual Sargent family beach vacation, the 4th year in a row. The first year was I'll tell you guys about a little bit the first 4 years. For the first year, it was actually the year I kind of met her parents one or two times before that, but this time was like the longest I've been. I just meet them and hang out with them and whatnot, and them to get to know me. And I actually asked them if I can marry her before they even really knew me. So that was awkward, but I did that at the first year beach house vacation. I did it with a letter, and had to live with them not saying anything the rest of the beach trip and then saying something after we got back. So that was a weird first year. And then every other year was been pretty solid for the most part. But I will tell you guys this. Catherine, right, she comes from a huge family. She has like 9 siblings, who most of them are married. And oh yeah, they have kids too. So there was like 23 people this year staying at this beach house for a week. Overwhelming at times for sure. Fun, hype, and awesome. Absolutely. Now, as much as I love to tell you guys all about the vacation and like what we did and stuff like that, like we played spades, we played taboo, we had some good food, cooking competition and all that stuff. Like we had some really good times. We took good pictures, and we just did a lot of stuff. But like I don't really care to talk about that because I have to tell you this more than anything is the most important part about this episode. I brought my Bible on vacation. If you told me last year at the beach house that next year you're going to bring your Bible, I'd say, stop playing. Seriously, I brought my Bible on vacation, and dude, I'm so glad that I did because I need that. Because I can miss a day. I can't really miss 2 days. I mean, I can, but I get a little cranky. I definitely can't miss 3 days. I'd feel like something's missing in my life. It's like sleeping on a crappy pillow for 3 nights in a row. Like after night 3, you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, all right, let's go to the store and get a pillow. So I brought it, man, and I actually used it. Like when you bring a book on vacation, you think you're going to read it and then you don't read it. Nah, dude, I didn't do that. I didn't. I read it. I didn't read it every single day, but I read it 12 out of the 14 days. And the reason is because, I just wanted Jesus to be in my heart and on my mind during this trip, because there's always like some weird energies at the family vacation. There's been some things that's happened where it's just, people are, there's 23 people, that the house gets a little tense sometimes, people are on different schedules. People like the thermostat a little too cold, or whatnot. But here's the thing, man, everybody's trying to be nice on the beach trip. So therefore, a lot of the conversations that are had are very surface level. And dude, I'm just not a surface level conversationalist type of guy. Like I find myself going a little too deep, a little too much. And I don't mind it at all, but people aren't really equipped to handle that, especially for 7 days in a row on a vacation. So having my Bible helped me get deep without really needing anyone else to dance with, if that makes sense. I also just wanted Jesus in my heart during the trip because, dude, I haven't been a dad to 2 kids in a while, 5 months. And this was the first year Malachi was going to be there at the beach. So I don't know. It was just an adjustment. It was the first time going on vacation with a baby. And then Noah's 7 and he's a boy and he likes to have fun, and just do stuff constantly. And I was going to need Jesus in my heart to just be patient, be kind, be loving, be selfless for 2 weeks on a vacation where all I want to do is chill. But man, my Jesus loving wife, man, Catherine is so dope. She really reminds me of Jesus like more than anyone I've ever met. She really does just nudge me in the right direction. I need to listen to her all the time because she seriously knows the right way better than I do about everything. It's crazy. So one morning on the beach, before I sat down in my beach chair, she said, "You should get in the water and boogie board with Noah. He would love that." And she said it in a way where it was like, she spoke to me, she really just was like, man, I really thought, I was like, man, he would love that. Next thing you know, I was diving in the waves, jumping over these huge waves and just being a big kid in the water. And I ended up staying in the ocean almost the whole day. And then I went in the pool with Noah, jumping in, doing chicken fights. And then the next 3 days, dude, the same thing all over again. So my wife pushed me to be selfless. And I had one of the best days I've ever had in my life with my son, Noah. Like we were having, seriously, like I said, chicken fights. We joked, we laughed, we boogie boarded, we shared stories. We even talked about Jesus. And Noah loves Jesus, man, but he's 7. So of course I have to keep the conversation about Jesus alive and active. I have to keep it in a kid way. And I'm learning how to do that a little better. And I do think that is a tool that I'm going to need for the future, and I'm going to keep needing to build that. And so I told him the story of Noah, and it was just cool to see him listen so intently. And even though he already knew the story of Noah, he was he was dope, and he was just kind of like enjoying it, and he knew kind of the beats to it, but also he was, engaged enough to like want to hear more, and wanted to hear more stories. And I told him Jesus was the only man to ever be perfect. And dude, Noah lit up with excitement and was just in awe about that truth. It was just so special to see, because he knows that nobody's perfect, man. He just knows it. Like, he's a smart kid, and then when he found out Jesus was perfect, it just like kind of opened his eyes more. And it was special. And just hearing the way he prays to Jesus and the way he talks to Jesus when he does pray, or the way he talks about Jesus, or even just the music we listen to, he wants it to be like clean, he doesn't want any bad words in it and stuff. So he's just a good kid, man. I'm very proud of him. And back to what's going on. So we checked the weather for the beach house, right? And we checked the weather for the beach the day we were driving there, and it said a tropical storm was coming there for 4 days, from Sunday to Thursday, so 5 days. And we prayed in the car to Jesus on the way there to make the weather nice. And we even said in the prayer, if it's going to rain, let it rain for 1 day, just so we know that you hear us. It stormed so insanely hard on the first day, y'all. Like, water was leaking in the house, chairs being blown off the balcony. And then the next day, and every other day after that, clear skies and sunshine and vibes. All the vibes. Oh, it felt so good, man. It felt good just, because I'm telling you, it was like one of the worst storms I've ever seen in my life was there the first day we got there. And it bummed out everybody. Everybody was kind of like, man, are we just going to have to stay inside with 23 people for 4 or 5 days straight? And then, man, God is good. The weather cleared up. And y'all may think that's crazy that I'm using God to say that came true. But in my heart, it did. I mean, he knew the importance of that family vacation, man. And he knew the importance of those memories. And he knew that we loved him, and we knew that we had faith that weather was going to clear up. We really did. We prayed about it, and we were just confident. We looked at the weather app. We looked at the little thing, terminal, I don't know, whatever, the heat lamps that show where the weather's coming. But anyway, so yeah, I answered that prayer. That was super cool. And then I also brought my Bible on vacation because, dude, I haven't worked in almost 3 months, right? And God has blessed me with so much in these last 3 months, and in my life in general. Like, wow. Like, how can I just toss him to the side because your boy is putting his toes in the sand? Like, how wrong would that be? Like, that would just make me feel crummy, guilty. It would just make me feel like a bum. Really, it really would. It wouldn't make me feel like I didn't even deserve the vacation. I really didn't. I didn't deserve that vacation. I mean, I worked hard before coronavirus, but I mean, of course, with everything being shut down, I didn't deserve a vacation. But God thought I did. Man, it's just crazy. Like, how can I set an example also to my children if I don't bring my Bible? Like, Noah's watching what I'm doing right now. Like, he's paying attention. Today we went, it's Monday, and my wife goes on a walk with Malachi and her sister and her babies, and Noah went with them today on a walk. And then he came back, and he's like, what were you doing? Were you playing video games? And I was like, you think I'm playing video games like in the middle of the day? And I was like, buddy, I don't play video games. I'm reading, I'm doing productive stuff in the day. And then I had to like explain to him that I don't just play video games, and it's weird because kids don't really know what we do, when they're not here. So it was just interesting to explain that. But anyway, like, I have to be an example to my son. So how can I do what is right if I don't have God's word remind me of that too, and this is deep, but I also felt on this vacation that God was using me to reach these 20 plus people. Because I made sure, and organically just kind of happened, I just made sure I touched everyone in that family one-on-one at some point. Because it's easy to just, click up and whatnot, or just go like with the energy of everything. But I made it a point to hit everybody one-on-one. Even the people that are kind of like lone wolves, I kind of tried to make that relationship good. And I connected with everyone. I just tried to really be an ear for them. I tried to make people laugh, and I succeeded a bunch. I tried to be present, and I also maybe taught some people how to reevaluate their lives. Does that sound cocky? Yeah, but also, it's the truth. Because I talked about Jesus a few times with different family members, and I think that really opens people's hearts up a little bit. And I pray for the people that I talk to Jesus about, because I want their heart to open up, because that's what kind of I feel like my goal in life is, and my calling is to tell people about Jesus. So I also kept this is another way I kind of feel like I impacted some people that are in my wife's family. I also kept my phone in the bedroom 95% of the trip. And I think people notice stuff like that. I mean, at least I do. I notice everything because I pay attention and I study people, but I think people notice stuff like that. And if I can do it, you can do it too. Like, be present and be present with your kids, especially if you have kids. Dude, if you have kids, put your phone in your pocket. Put it on silent. Don't even have notification options open. Put on do not disturb. Check it when you go to bed, when they go to bed. Anyway, so I asked my son when we were in South Carolina. I said about the phones. You know, I was kind of curious because he's a big kid now. He can kind of express himself good, and we have good talks, man. He really just shows me his heart. Like, Noah's like the best, man. I love him so much, and so I just asked him, you know, I want to know where his head's at. And I asked him, I was like, how do you feel about me or mom when we're on our phones? And he said, well, I don't like it because I know you're not paying attention to me. He said that. He said, I don't like it because I know you're not paying attention to me. Like, he's already he answered quick. It was already on his heart. You know, he already had that question ready to go, or that answer ready to go. And my heart immediately skipped a beat, and I just felt crummy. I then asked, I said, well, why don't you ever tell us to put it away? And he said, because I don't want to be rude. So my son thinks he's being rude by wanting my attention? My son thinks it's rude to say, hey, Dad, can you put me first? I'm only 7 once. So yeah, man, when the world is glued to their phones, I made it an effort to be the only parent not on their phone at the beach trip. Granted, I did read a book on the beach a few times and in the house a few times, but I'd rather my son see me read a book while he's playing than be glued into what everyone on Facebook is saying this week about this week's coronavirus, this week's fear tactics. And guys listening, I know that you feel, man, it's weird. You guys, I don't know, man. If I was listening to this, I maybe even would rationalize my phone use if I was a parent. And I know what it feels like also to have FOMO, like fear of missing out on what's going on in the world. But hey, here's a real thing to fear. Missing out on your kid's childhood. Whoa, dude, like, think about that. Like, think here, this is something I've been really doing that I really think would help you guys as well if you guys are parents, or even when you're future parents. Just think about this. I really picture myself as a kid. I do that all the time. I think about the memories that I have, the good ones and the bad ones, and I think about what would I like as a kid at that time. You know, like, for instance, I was in the pool with Noah when we were on the beach trip, and Ethan, Noah's little cousin, was like looking inside in the pool, was looking inside like the drain, right? And he was just staring inside the drain. And I remember as a kid how scary that drain was and how I was like afraid to put my hand in it and whatnot. And I just like, I brought myself down to his level, and I was just thinking it like he was. And so I do that with my son now. And I've been doing it since he's been born, but I've really been doing it more recently, especially with Jesus on my heart, of just really understanding like what he thinks and what he's going through. And like, I just realized how important memories are, and you never know what's going to be a memory. You know, like me and Catherine we went and got Noah skates today, and she was saying how like, oh, maybe we should try to look for them on Amazon. I was like, nah, let's go get the skates. Like, I remember as a kid going to get the basketball hoop or going to go get the new shoes, you know, like that was a memory. As far as like, even though it's not like extravagant, it's like, let's go get some skates, you know, and come back with the skates today. You know, the Amazon thing is like easy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it might be cheaper. It might be more convenient. But, dude, when you have kids, like, go do some stuff, dude. It's fun. You know, it's like a memory for them. It's such a memory for them, man. And it's a memory for me as a father. So, dude, step away from the phone. I promise you, if you do it for a week, you probably won't even miss it. It's nonsense. 24 hours a day. And God doesn't want you scrolling. Remember that. And when you have a page, man, use your page for good stuff. Don't be sharing negative articles and opinions from people that do you even value their opinion. And like, it might be hypocritical because I've done stuff that like that too, but at the same time, I'm learning. You know, I'm telling you, I'm sharing with you guys. Like, I shared Candace Owens' video the other day, and I immediately regretted it. 5 minutes after I did it, I was like, ugh, why did I share that? Ugh, delete. I don't want anyone to see that I enjoyed any part of that. Because you know? And seriously, like, who cares what Trump tweeted today? I don't even think he actually runs his own Twitter. He's got a team for that. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I do know he held a Bible after the protest, and I was disappointed because that's a lukewarm Christian if I've ever seen one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't talk politics on here, but I do talk God, and that was a weird move on his part. And it was backwards. Did y'all see that? It was backwards. He held it backwards out, upside down, and it wasn't even his Bible. Like, he was like, hey, somebody get me a Bible. I'm going to go out there and take a picture. Like, weird. Anyway. And also, didn't he have, like, his Secret Service throw, like, tear gas or something at the protesters to move them out of the way for the photo opportunity? I don't know. And don't really care to find out. But no, man. I'll tell you guys this, man. I brought my Bible on vacation, man, and I'll tell you this about being a parent, man. I can't be a great parent. I really can't. Like, I'm selfish. I'm impatient. I'm always, like, worried about the future. I'm not present a lot of times. So I can't be a great parent. But dude, Jesus can help me be a great parent, and he does. When I'm telling you, when I'm there, when he's in my heart. And he's in my heart the more and more and more every day I read or every day I seek him. You know, it's a process. It's a walk, you know. And Jesus is just teaching me how to treat my family better, myself better, and the people around me better. Another example from the vacation is my sister-in-law, Victoria. She and I butted head for 3 years. One of the years at the beach house, we actually had this huge little spat about wine or something. It was so simple and it should have never even happened. But we were at that energy, you know. We butted heads, you know. And this year, dude, we were cool as cucumbers. We didn't even have to squash anything. Like, we didn't have to say anything. We were just on different energies, you know. I know Jesus now, and I think she sees that. I know how Jesus says to live, and she herself has grown a lot herself. And I think she wants to know Jesus more, or is starting to know Jesus more, and wants her husband to know Jesus more. And I just really tried to reach everyone, man. And I even found myself on the vacation disengaged from conversations I used to envy. So Victoria's husband, Calvin, he's a very motivated to be wealthy, right? He wants to be a financially stable man. He wants to have 401k. He wants to have his house paid off. He likes nice things. He really does. His conversations always seem to find a way to come back around into what he's got, what he's had, or what he's going to get, right? And I used to envy those things he had. I used to care. I used to ask questions about it, you know? And I used to feel, honestly, less about myself because I didn't have anything cool like that. Like, I never had a jet ski, a BMW, a motorcycle, a house. But, dude, this trip, man, no matter what was said from anybody, I got Jesus, you know? And I got Jesus in my heart, and I got a dope family, and I got this brain. And you can't take any of those things away from me. That Beamer, they can come get that. You mess up a couple times, they can come get that. And he's a good guy, man. Calvin really is. I really do like him. I know that he seems a little lost, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. But I really do think that if he just had Jesus on his side and knew Jesus and knew the way to live, the way Jesus tells us to live, I think that he'd figure it out. I think that both of them would just really, I think they both look up to, I think Calvin looks up to me a little bit, even though he's older. I just feel that energy. I'm not 100% sure, and I could be totally wrong. I think Victoria looks up to Catherine, and I think that at the end of the day, I feel like they do have a lot of potential to be great, you know, within themselves. And I even, you know, I tried to open up his mind one night while we were playing cards because I do that, you know, and I asked him a very important question to see where his heart was. And keep in mind, he works in the oil business, right? And he works like 80 hours a week, right? He does 60 to 80 hours a week, and he's hourly. So that's a lot of overtime pay. So, and I know this about him, and he's been this way for a long time since I've known him. And I said, hey, let me ask you something. I said, is working that many hours really worth giving up your life and your free time? Is money really that important to you? And you know what's sad is that I don't remember him actually listening to the question and letting it sink in. I remember a little bit. I remember I asked the question while we were standing, and then we sat down to play cards. So I think from the time we sat down to playing cards, he was thinking about the question. So maybe we did pause a little bit longer. But I wish, and then he sat down and then he answered the question. And I wish I could tell you everything he said, but we're already like 24 minutes in, and you don't have that kind of time for that, and neither do I. But I will tell you this. He gave me at least a 10-minute monologue filled with excuses and rationalizing the way he lives his life. He treats money like he's taking it with him. I think he's in his mid-30s, I believe, and his priorities are just not the same as mine. And I'm not saying that he's wrong for that. He's not. He's not wrong for what he likes compared to what I like, or what he prioritizes, what I prioritize. But I will tell you that he prioritizes stuff that doesn't really have to do with Jesus or living the good life of just being a son of God. He also, I'll tell you guys this, and he wears a cross on his neck. So right after he finally finished talking and explaining himself, I simply just asked him after that. I said, "Hey man, why do you wear that cross on your neck?" And he said, "Peace of mind. When I'm out in the oil field, it can be dangerous. So it gives me peace of mind." And this is going to sound harsh, but it's honest, right? So he basically uses that cross as a lucky charm so he doesn't die at work. And when he said that, man, it was hard for me to take in. It was weird. It felt uncomfortable. And I just responded with my heart, and I just said, I think if you believed and you followed Jesus, you'd feel a real peace. And I just left it at that. And then we just continued playing cards and then talked about something different. But I'll tell you guys this, man. And I had that conversation with him, and I'm having this conversation with you guys now too. It's all for good intentions. Like I love Calvin. He's my family. Like I want Calvin to know God. And I'm not saying that I can't. I'm not saying I don't. I'm going to keep loving him even if he doesn't. But I'm saying that I can tell his wife wants him to love God too. And I just want him to try, I just try a little bit, like ask some questions. Like you see what I'm doing, and he didn't ask me any questions about Jesus. He follows me on Facebook. He sees what I'm doing, I think, and you didn't ask any questions, it's just a little weird, and I don't know. I just want you to like read a little bit or like listen to the pod on your 14-hour days. I bet those 14 hours go by quicker. And I just want people to want to know Jesus. I think that's my goal in life. And even in Timothy 2, chapter 4, verse 2, it says, "Preach the word of God. Be prepared whether the time is favorable or not. Patiently correct, rebuke, and encourage your people with good teaching." So even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, dude, like you got to speak up about Jesus if you can, man. Because I want people, especially in my family, to know who Jesus is. So it's like I'm gonna rise to the occasion. I'm gonna use. Even if it makes people uncomfortable, I'm going to do it. It's just who I am. And I wish my family did talk about Jesus more, because it's so strange, because majority of them do believe in Jesus and walk with Jesus. And I feel like we're bashful about talking about it, because like I said, I think they're very, even my wife is this way. She's a very surface level family, like it gets weird when I try to get deep on something. It gets kind of like addressed for a second and then just completely, it doesn't get deeper is what I'm saying, and I get it. Not everybody's like me, but that's okay. But yeah, so there's just a lot of believers in the family, and it'd be nice to just, us all, be open about it, regardless of, uncomfortability. I get it on vacation though. It might be a little weird. So anyway, and now this is tough because I know some of my wife's family does listen to this podcast, and I know that, but hey, they'll probably find out about this episode. But then again, it's my podcast and it's my life and my experiences while following Jesus and trying to praise and teach people about Jesus and just bring them up, And I did what I just told you guys with grace. Like I did it with love, and I love Calvin. I want him to know Jesus just so we can bro out and talk about Jesus next year instead of like work, instead of just like the weather. I want to talk about him. I want to talk about life. I want to talk about kids. I want to talk about growth, And I just want to hear him being like, man, I worked 40 hours this week, and I spent the other 40 at home kicking it with my wife and dogs. I downsized on my car, downsized on my house, and I spent 10 hours reading and going to church. I spent the other 30 kicking it with my wife, or I got into some new hobbies, just something, right? Like working your life away isn't what Jesus calls us to do. He doesn't want you to care about money. You can't worship two masters. You can't love God and also love money. In my old ways, I will tell you, money was my everything. Signed, Zach Rippey. I'll tell you, I was also wrong. I was wrong. Now money doesn't mean anything to me. Like we went and bought skates today. I didn't even check the receipt, because it's like, I'm not stupid with my money. So it's like, I'm not even worried about it because I'm not stupid with it. So it's just like, don't be stupid with your money and don't even worry about money. It comes and goes. If you have a little bit now, you might have a lot later. If you have a lot now, you might have a little bit later. Money isn't everything, for sure. Especially nowadays, man. There's so many billionaires out there that actually are the rich. I'm not trying to be a billionaire. Nah, it sounds exhausting. Another thing that happened on the beach trip, because I brought my Bible, is I planned on reading a book, right? And I've been waiting to get my hands on this book for a long time. And it's a book called Pimp by Iceberg Slim. Dave Chappelle mentioned it on one of his specials and even brought the book on stage and talked about it and did a bit about it, right? And therefore, I was like, I love Chappelle. The bit was interesting. I got to read this book. So, and also my buddy Jeff the Weird, who has a podcast called The Weirdo, he put me on, and I bought it, and I bought it. I brought it kind of as my fun read, you know, like your vacation book, your fun read. And dude, I started reading it, and it was not a fun read. It was a tough read. It would have been super entertaining to me maybe a year ago, maybe not. I don't know. I read like 30 pages and thought to myself, I don't like where this book is taking my mind. This dark energy isn't something I want to be thinking about on this vacation or really in life in general right now. I'm on a good wave right now. I don't need this at all. So I put it down and I actually picked up a book called Not a Fan by Kyle Idleman. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. I think so. Kyle Idleman. And this book was brought to the beach by my sister-in-law, Lauren. And man, I was so glad she brought that because I didn't have like a backup book to pimp, right? So I put down the pimp book and I picked up the Not a Fan book. And dude, I read 100 pages in like 3 days and I'm hooked. All right. Like I seriously just love reading about Jesus, man. Like my heart and my mind can't stop. And there was just a couple gems in there that I have to share with you. And I quote, Jesus doesn't expect followers to be perfect. He does call them to be authentic. So man, how much do I love this? Jesus doesn't expect his followers to be perfect. He does call them to be authentic because honesty and truth and being myself are the things I try my best to live by, as you can probably tell by this podcast. But I just thought it was so good because he says this line after talking about people trying so hard to look good on the outside, aka money, jet skis, social status, all that stuff, you know, look good on the outside. He then says, if you could see what's on the outside, if you could see what's on the inside instead of what you're just showing everyone else on the outside, I'd wonder if you'd do something about it. This is what Jesus is trying to do. He's trying to get people to see what's on the inside. Calvin, what's on the inside? Jesus just cares about what's on the inside. Like, live in the inside. Don't live on the outside. The outside is the world's view of you, not God's view of you, not your view of you, not your family's. Oh, it's so beautiful. I hope that resonates with you and you live by that. I pray you do because it's such a beautiful way to live. I want to read it again. I got to read it again. I'm sorry. He says the line after talking about people trying so hard to look good on the outside. He then says, if you could see what's on the inside. So if the inside was reversed, instead of what you're just showing everyone else on the outside, I wonder if you do something about it. And this is what Jesus is trying to do. He's trying to get people to see what's on the inside. Because Jesus just cares about what's on the inside, dude. Oh, it's so good. And your actions, dude, and your I said dude again too many times, sorry. But your actions and your inactions reflect that, right? And also the words you say that comes out of your mouth a lot of the time is a reflection of that as well, which I personally have to be careful about because there's honesty, there's blunt, there's funny, there's rude, and then there's, oh, look, that's me. So I come off as a lot of things at a lot of times, right? And I need to work on that, and it's hard for me to gauge it. I think that over time I will become better at that, of knowing, picking and choosing my spots. I've gotten a little better. My wife has told me that I've gotten better at it. But still, like your words are a reflection of that, what you say, what you think. My thoughts have changed so much since I've started reading my Bible and just being, a follower of Jesus. And I'm so grateful for that because my mind would spiral sometimes, man. I would think some terrible things. Like one day I'll share some of the thoughts I had with you guys on here. But man, I don't want to get into it right now because we're already kind of long. But man, I'm just really trying to be myself, like Zach Rippey, with Jesus in my heart. And I'm also seriously such a new follower of Christ, so I'm not going to be too hard on myself right now when it comes to like watching everything I say, because it's like I'm still learning, and I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. And it's a never-ending pursuit of Jesus. That's the beautiful thing about it. It doesn't end anywhere. Like when you die, it kind of, you go to heaven and stuff. That doesn't even end. It's eternity, So it's like the never-ending pursuit. And last thing, this is kind of important because it's just honest. I felt guilty one night while I was away in South Carolina because I didn't share anything really about the Black Lives Matter movement. And so many people were posting about, oh, if you're silent, you're accepting racism or some nonsense like that. And I had someone I won't name being all judgy because I wasn't sharing anything. Well, one, the whole week that first popped off, I was driving to get my son and spending every day with him outside doing stuff. So I was really just out of the loop. And if I was like doing anything, it was like posting pictures of him, because I was just so happy to be with him. And then I would read at night, so it was like, man, I was with him, and then I would read with him, repeat, so it was like, I wasn't really in it, I wasn't really in the world. And then once I saw what was going on, I didn't share anything because I didn't really know anything. I didn't see the video. I've seen enough in the past to know that there's always been a problem in this country, and it's about time that the people are rising up to it, and it feels great to just know that things are actually changing, and I feel like the upper elites are scared right now, and it feels interesting right now, the state of our country. It really does. And dude, I'm a white-skinned Puerto Rican kid who grew up with black kids, Spanish kids, and Cubans. Yeah, Cubans. Yeah, they have to be in their own category in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, right? They're not the same as every Spanish. Cubans are just their own way in Miami, especially Miami. And I played basketball in high school, man, and I did AAU as well. And some of my best friends are black because of it. And when I did stand-up comedy in Dallas, they actually called me Black Uriah Rippey, and we had an inside joke that I didn't get booked at Hyenas because I was black. And it was very funny at the time. And on a previous episode, I was actually hoping that Jesus was black. If you guys remember, if you guys listened to one of the, I don't remember which one, I think it was 9 or something like that. And I just love black culture, man. I love black people. I also just love Jesus, and the guilt I felt that night was from the world. It was not from God. You guys realize that? Like, I don't know. And I had to share it with you because I just had that revelation. I was like, wow, I felt guilty last night. And I had to like pray that guilt out of me because of the world made me feel that way, because of what I kept seeing online and stuff. And even in 2 Timothy 4, verse 5, I feel like I say that weird because it's the second book of Timothy, chapter 4, verse 5. There we go. Paul says, you should keep a clear mind in every situation, right? You should keep a clear mind in every situation. And for me, that meant not running to social media and copying, pasting what everyone else said or what somebody else said. Not even my own ideas, my own thoughts, my own words, my own feelings. Like I didn't live in the feelings long enough to actually formulate an idea. So I felt guilty because I even tried to rush to say something, and then I deleted it like 10 minutes after. I was like, this is stupid. Like, because number one, I always feel like the media is hijacking the story and making it their own. So, and I feel like people are just listening to the media and are just sheep to it at times. So I probably shouldn't think that way, but that's kind of the way I do at times. And I just shouldn't reflect those views on other people, because people are really fighting for a great cause and something that should just be so normal in our society of just people not being racist. I can't believe it's even still a thing. And it's just super sad. And man, it's tough. And it meant for me, like, I'm not going to be a follower of the world. Like, I just don't trust the media at all. And yes, that means social media, because everyone has an agenda, right? Everybody's selling something for some reason. The media is not have your interest in mind. And I was not willing to just hop on this ship and just speak about something I knew nothing about. Because I knew in my heart, I knew I love black people, and I support the movement going on right now to change the way some people in social structures view black people. And I don't need to post a black picture on a Tuesday to prove that to any of y'all. And just because you like to share every article and video about it doesn't make you less racist, more educated, and a more loving people or a loving person of black people. It doesn't. Like, speak out in real life. Let your heart do the talking. Let your heart do the talking. I don't have to prove anything to anyone. I only care about what God thinks about me. Then my wife, then my kids, then my wife's parents, because they got what I want. And I'll give you a hint. It's not money. And I would say my parents too, but my mom is already over the moon and proud of me. And my dad is always going to be my example of how I love my children. So I don't feel the need to please anybody anymore. And I can't believe I even let myself feel guilty about that one night, and it sucked because I just laid there feeling like crummy, and I had to pray it out of me, man. And I encourage you all to do the same. I started doing something recently. It's pretty cool. I call it my pray pocket. I used to just put on the TV and fall asleep at night, and I'll do that every once in a while. I haven't in the last, 2 weeks and some change because of vacation, which is actually very helpful. Actually, only 1.5 weeks because I did it sometimes in South Carolina. But it's my pray pocket. So what I do is I actually have an alarm clock that has like flowing water and like ocean sounds, and I put that on. And then instead of just, making myself distracted to fall asleep by just watching some show aimlessly until I pass out, I've just been going in and out of prayer. I really like it. I just sit there and I talk to God, and then it feels like I'm talking to myself, but I'm just talking to God. And sometimes I'll get off topic, I'll just like my brain will stray into something else, and then I'll come back. So I'm in and out, I'm in and out of the pocket. And I just really like it, man. It's just been helping me, have that relationship and build it up. It feels good too because I'm starting to feel when I'm praying more legit. I struggled with praying and feeling like I was doing it right for a while, and I still kind of do feel that way sometimes. But it actually feels good because it just feels like I'm talking to, for instance, it's kind of like I'm talking to my wife before bed, but she's asleep and I'm in my pray pocket and I'm just in my head just talking to God. And I really give him my problems at night. I really give him like the things that I worry about, and he kind of formulates these thoughts in my own head of how to deal with them. It's like he talks to me when I'm in and out of the pocket, and it's strange. It's really cool though. And I think that it's only going to grow over time. I'm just making more of an effort. And I think it really just comes down to effort and wanting that, and this is the longest episode I've done, and you might not be here still, or you might be here still. But if you are here, man, I appreciate you. We're about to wrap it up. But yeah, I wanted to give you guys a little thing of what I do at night. So, dude, love people in real life. I conclude. Love people in real life. Get off the phone. Get your face in a book. The book. Stop making excuses. Stop rationalizing your faults and your sins. Make yourself better. Today is tomorrow. One day is today. And I'm about to start Titus. I encourage you to join me. Thanks for listening. Tell a friend. Share the pod. Think about Jesus. Pray. Do your part. Just keep growing. Just keep growing in your faith, man. And I got a surprise for you guys for the next episode. I think we're going to have a guest on for the first time. This is going to be somebody that has really just impacted my life before I even knew that they really impacted my life, if that makes sense. And, man, I'm just super excited about it. A really good buddy of mine. Love this guy to death. You guys are going to as well. And just be on the lookout for that. And make sure that you guys just, keep coming back, man. This is fun. It's only going to get better. I'm just over the moon about this podcast. I'm recording it at midnight right now, and I'm super tired. And I have to get up early with my son because he wakes up at the crack of dawn. But guess what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do for Jesus, all right? And for your kids. So I love you guys. Have a great one. Hope this really hit you guys hard in the chest. And I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for listening. Y'all are the best. I appreciate y'all so much.